Hey everyone, welcome to this week's episode of our podcast, Is Breakfast Included? Today on the show, I sit down, or really I didn't sit down, I sat down, he was sitting, but I talked to Riki Rachtman. If that name sounds familiar to you, it's because he was the co-owner of the world famous Cathouse in Los Angeles, California. He was also the host of quite possibly the greatest show in MTV's history, Headbangers Ball. My opinion, don't argue with me. But he currently just finished 5 sold-out nights of his one-man spoken word tour, One Foot in the Gutter, which is, we talked about that a lot and his ideas for it and where he'd like to see it go. And I think it'd be really cool, and I think he will do it. At one point, Riki got a little defensive of something I said, but we worked through it. You'll have to check it out. But I did ask him about his short stint in WCW, which we talked about, and we both agreed he would have been an amazing heel. Anyway, Riki was a great guy. I really appreciate him giving me the time he did because he had just got off tour and he's really tired. But anyway, let's check it out.
How was the tour?
The tour was better than I could have dreamed of. I mean, every show was packed. A couple of them were sold out. And it was tiring because it was 5 shows in 5 days.
Yeah.
And I'd never done anything like that. And, it was do the show, get to the hotel, be in the van at 6 o'clock in the morning, drive all day, sound check, do the show. But it was still a lot of fun. And I'm really hoping to do this more in 2023.
Right on, man. Well, thank you for doing this. So, man, we're just going to have a conversation. I've got a few questions for you. We'll talk about the tour, of course. I figure, I don't know how tired you are talking about the Cathouse, but there's some questions I have for you, being a fan of yours for all this time. So you ready to start?
Yes, sir, I am.
All right, brother. Tell everyone who you are.
My name is Riki Rachtman. I do a lot of stuff.
You do a lot of stuff, man. You and Tammy Down were founders, opened the Cathouse back in the 80s, right?
Yeah, 1986, Tammy and I created the Cathouse, and I kind of took it over about 1987, early 88.
So you, when did you relaunch the website for the merch and so forth?
I don't know. That's a good question. Because obviously, if you go to the website, you can tell that it's made by somebody that knows nothing about it. Doesn't work, and it's probably the same website that I've used forever, and I do it myself, and I have to actually go online and change it because there's a lot of changes that we've made. But we started selling the merchandise, and I've always kept it very low key. Like, I didn't want to have Cathouse shirts in stores because the people that wear them are usually last time GNR played, Slash was wearing a Cathouse shirt, and there's a lot of people that are currently wearing them. And if we made Cathouse shirts available at Walmart or Target, pretty soon there's no cool factor in wearing them anymore. So the only place you could get them is get them from me. And because that, every time I go to a show, I see a lot of Cathouse shirts. And it's very flattering to see that brand, which I've always stayed, I've always kept my claws into and made sure that nobody else, that we don't sell out the brand and make good stuff at good prices. And because of that, the company still, I'm in an office right now that there's 2 offices, and all we do is send out Cathouse stuff and Cathouse coffee and all that other stuff. So that it's nice to keep it going that long.
Yeah. Well, I never made it to the club when I was younger, but as soon as I saw I could get a shirt, I immediately ordered one.
Yeah, it's good because the club is a big part of rock and roll history. You read any of these autobiographies about rock and roll and bands of the 80s and 90s, they all mention the Cathouse, but the only way to get a shirt was to have gone to the club. And now that it was so long ago that the club was open, people want these shirts, and they see the character that played Tommy Lee wearing Cathouse stuff throughout all of Pam and Tommy. So they want to get this stuff, and the only way to get it is through me. So it's nice.
Right on. You went from that to getting a gig with MTV. Was that your plan? Had you ever done anything like that?
No.
Was it a natural fit for you to just,
No, absolutely not. I didn't go to school to take broadcasting. I'd never been on TV before. and it wasn't a natural fit and it didn't feel comfortable. And if you look at some of the early episodes, it's quite obvious. You know, I struggled. This was brand new to me. I didn't have any experience, and it just kind of happened, and I just kind of found a way to hopefully eventually get comfortable and then just keep on progressing from there to more and more stuff. And then doing MTV obviously helped the Cathouse, and because I did MTV for 5 years, then I was able to get into radio and stuff like that.
Man, like I said, I was a teenager when you were doing all this, and that's long before the internet, man. We found out about bands through you. You interviewed, I'm originally from Texas, so you interviewed Pantera when they were just coming up. What was at the time, you being, you were synonymous with the glam era, but you kind of fit in everything. Who were the bands you loved back then?
I don't really think synonymous with the glam era is very accurate for people. People like to think because the Cathouse did have Faster Pussycat and bands like that played, but we also had Exodus, Body Count, Suicidal Tendencies, Corrosion of Conformity, Megadeth. I mean, so for people, and I've never thought of myself as being synonymous with the glam era, but when people think the 80s, they tend to think that a little bit. And Cathouse, it was. I mean, we had a lot of those bands, and people did dress up, and I love that.
Yeah.
But I've always been into all types of music, and I think the Cathouse, the first band. I mean, I don't know. Some people say Guns N' Roses is a hair metal band. If that's what you say, I say Guns N' Roses is a rock and roll band. Motorhead played the Cathouse more times than Faster Pussycat, but I wouldn't call Motorhead glam or hair metal.
Definitely not.
But yet we still did have, back in the day, we all had big hair and we all dressed funny, but it was fun. That was the way it was back then. Yeah. And I think as far as people like to think that type of music with that era, yeah, we were in the epicenter of it without a doubt.
Yeah. When that ran through 95, your Headbangers Ball show, it ran through 95. What did you do after that?
After 95, I was doing talk radio. I hosted a show called Loveline for a while. And then I went from that to talk radio. And I was doing a show called Riki Rachtman Radio. And then eventually I worked with wrestling for a little bit. But for 19 years, I was working very much in motorsports, primarily NASCAR. And I still work for Fox Sports doing flat track racing. So I went more into motorsports than working with rock and roll, but it wasn't like I quit rock and roll to work in racing. I love racing. It was just, there weren't really any jobs for me. So I just decided, okay, I'm, to work in racing, and then slowly kind of, it's like, most of the people that go to heavy metal shows don't work in heavy metal. That doesn't mean they're not in metal. It just means they have jobs. My job was motorsport.
Yeah. You just mentioned the wrestling gig. Being a wrestling fan myself, were you a fan of wrestling when you started working for WCW?
Bernie, huge wrestling fan, but I hated my job there because they didn't let me do anything. They didn't all I would do was like, oh, and it's spring break. Don't forget to use tough actants and acting. And I hated what I did there, but I got to go to wrestling. I got to go to Monday Nitro every week. And I got to go to wrestling events and meet all those guys and become friends with all of them. And that was, I mean, I didn't get to do, like, I wanted to be a wrestling manager. I thought that would have been the coolest thing to be. And I didn't get to do that. So I didn't really get to do anything that I really wanted to in WCW. But I mean, I shared a dressing room with Bobby the Brain, once a week. Cool, and hanging with wrestlers and just hearing all the stories, and I'm riding in limos with Ric Flair, and it was awesome. And I'm still a huge wrestling fan.
Yeah, that was awesome for me when I was a big wrestling fan. I still am. I don't watch it as much as I used to, but when I saw you, I was like, holy shit.
Yeah, that was a fun gig. I mean, I wish I got to do more, but it was fun because it meant that every week I was at wrestling events, and that's kind of good. And getting paid to be at Monday Nitro every Monday.
Yeah. I could actually see you as a wrestling manager coming out and holding the guy's legs down while he was being pinned. Yeah. I see you more as a heel manager.
Maybe one day. Oh, yes. I'd have to be. I can't be a baby face. I can't be a good guy. Gotta be a heel because I'm somebody that's real easy to hate. So
All right, on man. Well, the reason I contacted you was about this tour you just did, the One Foot in the Gutter tour. You just finished 5 straight days. Like you did it in a van. You went out, you told some stories. How was that?
it was the best. I wish I was out again. I go up on stage and I think people are very surprised what the show is because it is me telling stories, but it's a lot more. And there's some multimedia stuff and some parts that are not a play, but like where I take you into my room and go through music when I was a kid and how these things shaped my life. And the show got incredible reviews. And it did really, really well. And I'm hoping to do more soon.
Right on. Do you plan on making it a regular thing? Like, like
This
a
is
full-fledged tour?
what my goal is I'd like to get out and do, I'd say like maybe 30 or 40 more shows,
Mm-hmm.
then write it into a book, and then do one more show live from Hollywood, not live, but do it in Hollywood and film the whole thing and get multi-camera shoot and everything and make it into like a Netflix special or something like that. And then begin writing on my second show, which would be One Fist in the Gold.
Right on, man. How comfortable were you getting up there and talking to? I mean, you're a personality, man. Like I'm sure over the years you've gotten comfortable behind the camera, front of the camera with a mic in your hand. When I started this, I didn't know that I had to talk into a fucking mic. When I
Right.
started this podcast. Uh, but how comfortable were you getting in front of a live crowd of people who were there to see you and
I
who were
think
just kind of,
at first, every show, I'm not going to lie, I'm nervous every time I walk on that stage because I'm spilling my guts. I'm telling everybody really, really personal stuff. But it was great, and it was I was nervous, and you don't know because you're going out there and you're giving them all. There's no band. It's just me going out there and sharing with people, and there are times when it's hilarious and there's time when it's kind of sad. And to me, the times when I'm telling some serious stuff and there's crazy rock club and 500 people there and I'm talking to them and it's silent and everybody's and I'm like, wow, everybody's really listening. And that means everything to me. And the great thing is I got to meet so many people before and after the show, and the people were all so, like, every show I went to, I made friends, and every show I went to was so much fun. And I loved being on stage. I love doing that. I like doing that more than anything I've ever done in my entire career. More than anything, more than Headbangers, more than racing, more than radio, more than Cathouse, more than anything. I love being on that stage and One Foot in the Gutter.
yeah. Was the whole concept your idea, or was that
Absolutely.
after
Everything.
people, asking you like, hey, you should do this, you should do that, and you're finally like, hey, I'm going to go out and do it?
Everybody's been asking if I was going to write a book, and I was like, I'm lazy. What if I just go up and tell the people the book? I'll just tell it to their faces. But didn't know how it would go. Like, you don't know. Like, when we pull into some of these towns that are small and it's snowing, I'm like, is anybody even going to show up? And you get on stage and you look at all these people and you're like, wow, these people showed up for my show. It was very, very flattering.
Yeah, I know. After that first, you did your first show, and then you did a social media post like, "Hey, don't ruin it for the next shows." Is there anything you could tell us today, man? Like a short story or something like that, or you want to just save it for the
The
road?
show is everything. I mean, I'm gonna come to your town eventually, and it's everything from Cathouse to Headbangers to sex, drugs, raunch and roll to rags to riches to rags to riches to rags again. It just goes back and forth. There's a lot of things that I say that are very embarrassing. There's a lot of things that are hilarious and without knowing they're funny until I say them. And sometimes the show changes on shows. I also have a lot of videos and photos that people have never seen. So it's a blast. It's just a blast.
Right along. How long did it take you to prep all that before you went out? Like, was it months, weeks?
Well, it should have been, but I wasn't. I just did it before. I mean, I just wait till the very, very last minute.
They're
And
like, let's put this together.
Yeah, and it was more like, you're going out on tour in 3 days, and so I'm, forcing everything, and now at least, even though I don't know when the next dates are going to be, I'm assuming ending of March, April, May, hopefully, but I'm going to start working now on the new shows just to make everything even better because this is really I mean the shows are great, but I want them to be even better.
Right on. Did you know at an early age your whole life was going to be rock and roll, man?
No, I know I wanted it to be. I mean, I love rock and roll. I always did. And I was a bad student and all these other things. And I kind of had a feeling that things would be in this field because that's what I love. But I didn't expect to be, where I am now. And
Right
I'm
on.
so grateful. And to be at this stage of my career and to be in the best place that I've ever been now, like I want to go back out on tour. I've got coffee company. I've got t-shirts. you know, I've got, everything. I'm very, very happy.
Right on. Well, I work as a tech, and I run into people that I've never heard a bad story about you, man. And just talking to you right now, it
Oh,
seems
then
like
you're asking the wrong people because because believe me, there's a whole lot of people out there that can say bad things. The truth is, if anybody's met me, I'm as honest and real, for better for worse. There's a lot of haters out there that don't know me, that have a preconception of what I am because of what they saw on TV.
Yeah.
And that's fine. The thing is, when somebody writes you and calls you, oh, you're a nobody and a has been. I'm like, dude, you're writing to me. My show's been off the air for 20 years and you're saying that I'm a nobody and a has been, yet I'm still in your space. So you're still talking to me after 20 years. I mean,
Right.
I treat everybody the way I want to be treated. I never say the word fans. I always try to think that people are on the same level as I am because I'm a rock fan and the people that I meet are the same way. And, I am as I am, sometimes you get people that think you should only listen to one genre, and I've never listened to only one genre. I can listen to Cinderella as much as I listen to Amon Amarth. I like all different types of rock and roll.
Are you a country fan at all?
Old country, Waylon, Willie, Johnny, stuff like that. And I love everything that Shooter Jennings does. Shooter's my friend. I'm a big Shooter Jennings fan.
Yeah, Shooter's cool. Shooter's cool. Uh, Man, I'll ask you this question. It's out of left field. Um, how do you feel about this Pantera reunion? I say it because I'm a huge Pantera fan.
Of course.
It was a big deal when they did your show for us, who grew up listening to them and who saw them come up. It was a big deal when
I
you had them on your show.
I like the idea because there's going to be a lot of kids that never got to see Pantera that are going to see them. And every kid that goes to see Pantera is going to be thinking of Diamond Vinny. And they're going to be buying all the records. And that's great for Diamond Vinny. And it's Vinny. And it's going to make this whole generation see how awesome this music is. Now, Rex got sick and now they're doing the show and Phil's the only person in the band. All of a sudden, I like that just like I wish they could kind of cancel it and wait for Rex, but I know you can't. And there's a lot of money that's lost when shows get canceled. So all of a sudden, with only Phil in the band, I'm like, but you couldn't pick anybody better than Zach and Charlie. I mean, am I going to go to one show of Pantera? No, I'm going to go to probably 4. I'm going to see as many as I can because their music is great. They've got great guys, and it's a shame they didn't do it with Diamond Vin, but that's just not going to happen. And what is going to happen is a lot of kids are going to see Pantera and really, really like them.
Right on, man. I feel the same way. Like I've watched the footage. Uh, um, I'm hoping to see them next year sometime on the Metallica tour. Personally, that's 2 birds, 1 stone for me in the same night.
Oh yeah.
Uh, so you're planning on doing this One Foot in the Gutter again? Is there any plans to do, like, I guess kind of what Tyson did? Tyson was doing his spoken word thing and then did it on Broadway and it was hugely successful. Like I haven't heard any of these stories from you, man, but you've got a fucking interesting life. I think it would, have you thought about that at all? Or you just want to keep doing
What would be really cool? I'd love to take my show and make it into more of a me telling the stories and have, live music and make it like a Vegas show where I had a residency. I mean, if somebody said, hey, would you be interested in turning this into I mean, that's the most flattering thing anybody could ever say. If I did a show where it was more of like what Tyson did. You know, there's people that I look to that what they've done in this genre, and my show is a little bit different than anybody's. But yeah, that would be something I would love to do. Would love to do.
Yeah, I think it would go over well with this kind of stories you tell. You know, like I said, you've lived a hella interesting life. Where can people find you online, man?
I'm on all social media, including TikTok. Everything is under my name, Riki Rachtman, RIKIRACHTMAN. And you can find all the stuff that I do and sell at cathousehollywood.com.
Right on. My podcast is called Is Breakfast Included? And if it was included, what would you have?
You know, it doesn't make sense. The more money you spend for a hotel, the less chance there is of having breakfast included. When you go to like cheap hotels, you've always got that machine that makes those waffles, and you've always got. So I try to do egg whites, and I love grits, and I love biscuits. So there you go.
Right on, man.
And usually I think they say if it's beige, yellow, and white food is not good for you. But I just got a big plate of beige, yellow, and white. But I love me some real good Southern biscuits.
You know, I agree. Well, man, I appreciate your time, dude. I know you're busy. I know you just got home and you want to get some rest. But I know we had talked about you maybe coming out to Atlantic City. But if we're ever in your area, fucking reach out to me, man.
Dude, I love Duran Duran. I always loved it. And when I heard that, I was like, oh my God. And John Taylor's just a bad. I don't know him, but I'll bet he's just I don't know what those guys are like, but I love Duran Duran. So definitely I will remember that.
All right, man. Well, have a great day, dude. Thank you so much for your time, brother.
Thank you. Take care.
All right. Bye-bye.
Right on. Riki Rachtman. That was really cool. And I think we worked our way through that, him being synonymous with the glam band era. I hope we did. You can find all the Cathouse Hollywood merch that he was talking about at cathousehollywood.com. Riki is on all social media, including TikTok, under Riki Rachtman. Next year, if you see his One Foot in the Gutter show coming near you, check it out. All right, guys, I am done. Have a great day. We'll talk to you next week.